I define change as anything that is different than your normal. And that happens to us every day. So when you're standing at the intersection of you and a change, sometimes you need a change champion, somebody to champion you over the change, around the change, into the change, so that now you can navigate differently. As you continue to talk to this thing, that thing shrunk and you became bigger and you walked into it. So now instead of it overpowering you, you are now overpowering it. And by the way, now it's dissipated to a point where it's almost non-existent. But this is the thing that was holding you hostage. So let's do the work and talk it out.
Hey, what's up, Masters? Man, I'm here today with Mrs. Lolita Walker, or as they say on Clubhouse, Lolita with a T. How's it going?
How are you today? I'm so excited to be here on this path to mastery. Woo, I'm so excited.
Yes, ma'am. It's exciting to have you. And I know we've missed this a few times, so I'm glad that we were able to figure it out today. And yeah, so, I just want to first off, we met each other through Clubhouse, which, it's interesting because last time I actually talked about Clubhouse on a podcast, it's probably been a couple months now. Not as many people were aware of it, but we are starting to see more and more people become aware of Clubhouse. And I don't know if I don't think it's quite mainstream yet, but what do you thought? People are starting to know about it and jump on it.
Yeah, I think that there's so many social media platforms and folks are listening in to see which one is vying for their attention, which one is the best one to be on. Like we have Clubhouse, we have Wisdom, we have Swell, we have Fireside. There's so many of them and some of them die out. So I think people are waiting to hear, and Clubhouse has been the one that's been around. And this one is producing money, it's producing clients, it's producing real good relationships in general. So I think that this is, why not be? Absolutely. You should be on it. If you're not, you're missing out.
Yeah. Amen. There are a lot of them starting to pop up. By the way, this is coffee, not wine. Just as you mentioned earlier, I think most people know I don't drink anyway. I've been sober for a lot of years, but
yes, I did know that. I don't know why. I think it was the glass.
It's all good. Hey, if you don't know, you don't know. You don't know. Most people know me though. I have. But anyway, enough about me, and let's talk about you, Lolita, today. So thanks for coming here. You are the change champion, and let me do a little bit of your bio here. It's Walker and Walker Enterprises, and the helm of a movement to inspire and cultivate clear and confident leaders in diverse teams to be more in touch, productive, and balanced, and solution focused. Lolita's team helps to navigate foreign spaces that may appear intimidating at the onset and then seamless as a result. The work of Walker and Walker Enterprises will successfully navigate you further along your journey by first focusing you on the foundation of you. I want to talk about the foundation of you in a minute. And there was one other thing that caught my attention as I was looking through your bio. Lolita's zone of genius is leveraging the power of her voice to pull out and then to pour into others. Her clients benefit from strategies to refocus, restore, and reweave structure and clarity into their everyday lives at work and also at home. Lolita excels as a sought-after transformation specialist, corporate coach, TEDx and motivational speaker, author, podcaster, and creator of individual and corporate programming. Lolita, good to see you again.
Yes, I'm like, who's that girl?
Yeah, sounding pretty cool.
Sounding pretty good.
So for focusing on the foundation of you, let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay. Yeah.
So
what comes to mind with that? Everything, I believe, according to Lolita E. Walker, is the base of you. Like, what is at your core? And a lot of times you don't know what's at your core. And that's the reason why we walk, talk, and behave outside of ourselves. So what do I mean? What is at your foundation? That means your strengths, your core values. What do you stand upon? Like when the world is topsy-turvy, when the world is going crazy, when there's chaos all around you and distractions all around you, what do you stand upon? And that thing, for me, part of my core values is faith. right? I always say my faith and my strengths have wings that are going to protect my fall. What is going to protect your fall, right? What are you standing upon? And that thing, that foundation is what I help you solidify. And when you know the foundation that you stand upon, when you know your values, when you understand your strengths, then you can walk, talk, and behave differently and more intently. And the world looks differently, even from the perspective of how you see it. The fog is moved. You walk differently. And it's just amazing how you show up when you understand the foundation of you. All things lead back to you.
So, you're the change champion, right? Is what you're up to. And what is that? Like, tell us about, how do you help people change, or not? And now we can dig a little deeper on this as well.
Yeah.
But like, how does that, what's the change champion? First, we'll start there.
Okay, absolutely. The reason I call myself a change champion is if I peel the onion all the way back, I introduce myself as I am power, I am passion, I am purpose, right? I am power because I give 1,000% of myself to anything at all times. I am passion because I'm doing exactly what I'm passionate about, right? That adds and fuels my power. I am purpose because I recognize and have done enough self-discovery that I'm walking and talking and doing the things that are me. So I am power, I am passion, I am purpose. And when I do that, I help you to navigate through change. Like, change is coming at us all at once. David, when you meet me at the intersection of you and a change that's happening in your life, I define change as anything that is different than your normal. And that happens to us every day. So when you're standing at the intersection of you and a change, sometimes you need a change champion, somebody to champion you over the change, around the change, into the change, so that now you can navigate differently. And that's what I do. I stand right beside you and I champion your change and you getting through that change. And it's powerful. I love it. And that's why I'm a certified life and leadership coach.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So you're saying when people are going through different things in life, you're kind of there to help. Like right now, you shared with me how your grandmother's sick, and like I said, I'm gonna say a prayer for you and your family, and I hope everybody listening to this does. And but yet you're still showing up here, right? My wife, we're dealing with COVID. My wife has it. I don't have it. I'm grateful, and the kids are home, so we're dealing with that. But yet we still show up. Is that what you're kind of talking about, or what?
Yeah. So for instance, for you, if you and I were working together and you were really struggling with this notion of your wife is sick and now you're having to pick up responsibilities with your children, and it's feeling like a barrier to something, maybe a vision that you have, a work that you have to get done, I help you pause. I help you to feel that power in it. I remind you the foundation that you stand upon, and then I help you to see clearly on your why, right? What do coaches do very well? I'm not telling you what to do. What it is, I'm helping you pause and ask you powerful questions because all of it resides in you. So what I do is I help champion you through the change that you're going through right now. So my clients, if you were my client, I would be helping you through what you see as a different change in your life. And how are some of these distractions? So what are we going to do? Is there some that we can delegate? Is there some that's not even important that is on your plate right now? How can you leverage the resources around you to help you get through that? So this champion, me, I stand beside you and I help you navigate that journey of what looks like change to you.
I love it. So what are some other examples of maybe some changes that you help people with throughout life? Because I'm guessing there's all different types of change. Right?
Yes. We're all experiencing something. But, a lot of my clients right now are experiencing fear, right? Anxiety, stress, doubt, overwhelm, navigating a different space in their career. The pandemic has hit and there's a lot of self-discovery happening. These social apps are here and you hear the greatness, because everybody puts out their best front. Not everybody is very vulnerable in telling the truth on where it is that they are in their journey. So what happens is there's a lot of comparison right now. I'm working with an executive right now in this really high power organization, very well known. And she said to me just yesterday, she said, you know what, Lolita, when I really dig into it, I am comparing myself to my peers. I am. And I say that because it doesn't matter where you are on the totem pole. It doesn't matter where you are in life. It doesn't matter what is happening. The notion of comparison happens to all of us. And with social media so prevalent right now, It's huge. And how many of us are suffering with comparison if we really want to say it out loud? So those are some of the things that I work with folks on. I did a voice dialogue exercise today with a woman just this morning. And what she was really talking about is this internal dialogue that is happening. It's like this conflict. And she said, Lolita, really down deep, it's this thing in my head just telling me all of these things. And what they are is limiting beliefs. There's doubt and they're overwhelmed. There's a whole lot of things. So name it. Like, let's talk to it. And we had that exercise. And some may think it's silly, but when you literally close your eyes and remove all of the distractions of looking at somebody and what their facial expressions are, it's you and I. And we're here together. So close your eyes and let me walk you through this. And what she realized through that imagery exercise and her talking back is that it's not real. And matter of fact, as you continue to talk to this thing, that thing shrunk and you became bigger and you walked into it. So now instead of it overpowering you, you are now overpowering it. And by the way, now it's dissipated to a point where it's almost non-existent. But this is the thing that was holding you hostage. So let's do the work and talk it out.
All right. Interesting. So yeah. I want to go back to the comparison part, like, because I feel like that's so common. I mean, I do it. I think I'm guessing everybody does it, right? You see, like, this person's doing this, and then you start saying, well, how come I don't have that? Or how come I'm not there? Or how come I don't sound like that? Or how come I don't sound as cool as Lolita when she shares, right? I mean, it's like, I mean, does that ever stop? Do we just get used to it and catch ourselves? Like, how does somebody get beyond that? Or do you even have to?
That's such a good question. I think that the chatter starts to die down. So what happens is you become known to the fact that it will come, right? It will come. And so now that you know it will come, what will you do and how you react? I think part of the thing is that we're trying to erase it and make sure it never comes back. Well, what if you said that it will come? You will fail. You will fall short. This won't be the last time. It's definitely not the first time. But guess what we know is that you're standing right here. So I believe that it doesn't ever go away, but I believe that there's strategies and tactics to address it head on. So what I say is you will address the fear head on. You won't go around in fear, but we're going to walk right into it. So let's claim it. Let's say what it is. Let's get down to the nitty gritty and talk about what the fear is. Let's dig deep. So now you can walk through it. You look to your left, you look to your right, you pick up your courage and you continue to move forward because now you're armed appropriately because you knew it was coming. So you can prepare, right? Proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
Okay. Proper preparation prevents what?
Piss poor performance.
Nice. I love it. So let's use Clubhouse as an example because that's how we know each other. And I run rooms in the morning, and there's a lot of people that I know want to get involved in the conversation, want to come up, but they don't. It's fear that holds them back, or maybe it's like you said, maybe they're comparing themselves to others. How do we help people just get beyond that? I mean, is it just like jump, take action, or is it more than that? Like, is there a strategy? So like next time someone that listens to this, and the next time they're in either, it could be Clubhouse, that's just a metaphor. It could be at your office at a business meeting, right? And you want to share, but you're fearful. How does somebody just be confident enough to say what they want to say?
Well, I think it's two different things you can do. The first is that I think we need to meet people where they are. So everybody's not going to be a Lolita. When I look at myself, I'm on a super extroverted side, right? Like super duper extroverted side. There's some folks that are all the way on the other side of the spectrum and they're super introverted. There's some folks that are in the middle. So somebody could just not want to share. I could be in the audience and not even want to come up, but I'm always asked to come up, right? Because people see me or they know me or you too asked to come up. But sometimes we have to be willing to say maybe later. And sometimes you just want to listen, quite frankly. There's no pressure. There's no nothing. Allow me to sit in the audience because I'm good. So sometimes we have to meet people where they are. And I say that to say, one, that person might be okay with sitting in the audience, right? But it might be our expectation that come on up, raise your hand, come on up today. And we don't know where we are. So if that person continues to come in, so they're staying and you understand like, hey, they're getting something from it. I would say meet them in the back channel. Hey, you know what? I've noticed that you're here all the time. Is there, would you like to chat offline? Is there Should I expect to see you up? I would love to hear your voice. We can do that and meet them where they are. And we might be surprised at what they say. Sometimes it's a 15-minute conversation offline in order to help them become comfortable, or we might realize that they're always in the hospital with their grandmother at the time, but they just want to hear. Right. So that's one. I
Yeah,
think,
amen. Well, let me jump in for a minute because the
yeah.
questions just keep piling up now as we continue talking. But I'm referring to the person that actually does want to say, but the fear, they want to share, they want to step up, but they're too scared to do it, right? Like, or they're just not, because that's so common. I know I talk to people all the time, like I would have said, but I didn't. And so, what do you say to those people?
Oh, I just continue from the stage to say, hey, guess what? I create an open space. Everybody can feel free to raise your hand whenever it is you're ready. I would love to engage in a conversation with you. Let me kick this off. If
So
nobody
you're
comes up,
encouraging.
oh,
You're
yes,
just
I always encourage, acknowledge, state their name. For instance, like, hey, Lolita, I see you in the audience. Listen, stay where you are and listen in, or I'd love to invite you up because this conversation is really good. I'd love to hear your perspective on it, and keep on moving.
I love that. So
Yeah.
you're really just more encouraging
Mm-hmm.
as a coach or as a lead. Like I said, this could be at an office meeting where you're sitting there and you want to say something, but yet you're not saying anything, right? Because you don't want to
Yeah. And
sound.
quite frankly, if that continues to happen in a workplace environment,
Mm,
I would really take a look at the culture. What might be, if they want to and they're not, then what is that saying about the culture, right? Are people judging when they do
mm,
decide to speak, or what
interesting.
others being judged when they do decide to speak? If they decide to speak and their perspective is counter to what the popular one is, how are they treated? And sometimes people look and listen for those type of cues because it talks about what the culture is that you're building. That can be in person, that could be on a social app, but take a look at the culture. Is it inviting? Is it going to hold them where they are? Is it going to judge them? Is it going to make them feel like they're failures or they don't know what they're talking about? What is the culture?
I love it. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you an interesting question. So you said you're a super extrovert.
Yeah.
So are you a super extrovert because that's how you are, or is that how you made yourself? Like you are an extrovert because you choose to. Like I'm an introvert. So,
Mhm.
but I can show up like an extrovert because I choose to be. Right. I mean,
Ah,
I'd
so
go teach.
interesting.
I'd go teach a class. If you saw me on stage, you'd be like, wow. But really, I'm more of an introvert. That's just how I show up when I want to turn it on. I'd just be curious to understand, is that are you, because yeah, I don't know you, but I'd be just curious to hear. And for people listening, like I want people to understand that we don't have to say, hey, I'm an introvert, so I just don't step up and talk, because a lot of people are
Mhm.
similar, and they can turn it on and then they can turn it off. So what are your thoughts when I put that out there?
Yeah, I'm a super extrovert by nature with introvert tendencies.
Mm,
So that means that my mom is a super introvert, my father is a super extrovert. So I am more my father. I can go out and I will speak. I will force myself into conversations. I'm the one that'll mingle. You put me into a crowd, I'll know everybody's name by the end. I'll talk to everybody there. That's because that's the extrovert in me. That is the social butterfly in me. I want to know. I want to meet people. I want to see what you're all about. I thrive in groups, right? It
mhm,
fuels me. So therefore, when the pandemic came, for me, it was a big deal. And so what I did in order to cope with how I gained strength is that FaceTime was so important to me. So these social apps, when they came out, I need to talk to people. So this is so my stilo, or somewhere where I can see people. So like this Zoom is amazing for me. I like to see people and feel them and touch them and stuff like that. With the introvert tendencies of who I am, is sometimes I do need to take a break. And sometimes I do want to take time to write. I'm writing my second book. Like I need time for myself. I need time for myself to digest everything. Also, I'm a coach, and sometimes you take on other people's stuff, and I need
mm.
time to let that stuff go because it's not mine, right? I have a son. Family is important to me. So what times am I spending with him? That's very important to me. And sometimes we can get ourselves out of whack. So I'm an extrovert because it's my nature, but actually I've also been taught as I was growing up, we always had company at our house. My father was always somewhere mingling and talking, and I was always right there. So maybe it was learned, but it's that thing in me that gives me energy.
Yeah. Yeah, you have an awesome I'm trying to think of a word. It's like an intensity about you a
Thank
bit.
you.
And yeah, I don't know. It honestly reminds me of myself a little bit. And why are you aware of that, and what causes that? Or
It's so interesting. I always go back to my dad. As we were growing up, my dad made us do book reports. And we would do book reports, but not only would we do book reports, but we had to stand in the middle of the floor and say them. I was always in some realm where I was speaking in front of people. My son, as he grows up, you write and you speak. So get in front in the middle of the living room and talk. And I don't care who's in the room. It's kind of like, do it. Let's chat. And at first, I think it was uncomfortable for him, but he learns from it. Practice makes perfect. And I think that's so important. I put him in a speech club. And that's important to me because I believe that whether you're introverted or extroverted, right, that doesn't define who you are. It just is talking about your intrinsic ability, like that thing that's inside of you. And for my son, what I remind him of is it's important to feel comfortable speaking in front of people, right? I want you to decide if it's important for you, but while I still have the realm, I want you to start to become comfortable in speaking for yourself so that in the event you have to speak on behalf of yourself, you can go and speak to a teacher and let them know like, hey, I don't really agree with this. And can you help me understand why? I want you to be able to raise your hand. I want you to be able to talk to me about your word problems and what does that mean to you? I ask him questions like, hey, how are you feeling? How did that make you feel? Those things to be able to communicate because this new generation, David, I tell you, I mean, communication is not their strong suit.
yeah. Yeah, I have 3 daughters, and my daughters are all amazing, and my daughter Penelope is just, she'll get up in the middle, she'll go in a room with a couple hundred people and start dancing in the middle of the place. She could care less. It's amazing. My daughter Samara, it will you could edge her into doing that after a while, and then she would probably do it. Similar to me, I could do it, but I'd have to talk myself into it. You know what I mean? And not just do it because that's how I've programmed myself for 36 years in sales. But normally I wouldn't do it. I would, as a kid, I would have never done that. And then my daughter Jacqueline would just never do that. So it's
What?
just interesting.
It's so interesting that you say that. I'm really going to think about Walker because I think he's more of an introvert that wants to be an extrovert because his mommy is. Really. I do. He has extroverted tendencies, but I think if you gave him time to himself, he would play video games all day and be just as happy not to talk to anybody, actually.
Yeah, it's cool because you can, and there's the middle, right? They call it what, ambivert, is where like you can kind of go both ways, and that's kind of like me. I can hang with the best of them and network and but then it's energy. It's energy. So
yes,
and then so
and we're beyond the label, right? We're beyond the label, but we use it because it helps us to identify some of the attributes that people have and that make them. But to your point, I mean, we can flex and we can move, and there's introverts, just because you're introverted doesn't mean you don't like people. Just because you're extroverted doesn't mean you need time to yourself. So I love the conversation. It does just make me think, and I'll talk to Walker today to see what is it that he really loves.
Yeah, and I mean, just because you're an introvert too doesn't mean connection's not important,
right?
Like you want connection, you just may not be the person who is going to automatically jump out and be the center of attention.
Right, exactly. I love it. Yeah, I love it. This is awesome.
So let me ask you this, and I've got a few more questions for you.
Okay.
What makes a great life coach?
One that listens intently. One that listens intently and manages their fixer. So what does that mean? Sometimes when folks speak, just like anybody, sometimes when folks speak, you're ready to fix their problem right away. You're like, oh, I got an answer for that. Oh, I know how to do that. Oh, I've gone through that before. And as a life coach, it's so important to listen to people and allow them to talk more than what you're speaking. And that's so important because folks don't need fixing. They just need you to challenge them with questions to help them dig deeper. And once they dig deeper, they'll really articulate what the real issue is. Because oftentimes what folks come to me for isn't what the real issue is. It's just the symptom that bubbled up to the top.
Yeah. So that, and I love the answer. I mean, I'm a 36-year salesperson, and I think I'm pretty good with questions, but some better than others, sometimes not. But what would like, so is it the listening? Like, how important is the listening? Because that's an area that I think most struggle. Like, even if you can come up with a good question here and there, is it in the listening, or is it more than that, or is it the pause? What do you think?
I think it's a number of things combined, but if I had to choose one, it would be I want you to listen and to be present. Right. So as you get more advanced in coaching and over time, you start with writing down everything, right? Oh, let me write down this because I want to replay it. But then eventually you get to a point where you don't even need to write it down anymore. And it feels uncomfortable first, but it's because you're so intently into the conversation and you're listening and you're feeling and you're having a conversation. And so something out of that will have piqued you. And that's what you want to, pull out on. And I think that the power in that is just being genuine and being present. And when you're present with the person, it's a conversation. And that conversation is what genuinely moves you to the next level. It's like, tell me more. Tell me more about what you're talking about. So it's listening intently, it's asking these powerful questions, it's pausing again, but the pausing is the listening. It's all of those things wrapped in one. And what I challenge folks to do, especially when we're on these social apps and there's so many folks with the word coach behind their names or in front of their names, is I told a woman this the other day, she called me for a consultation trying to see, she's like, hey, I have these 5 coaches that I think I might want, but I'm interviewing all of them. And I say, well, absolutely. And she asked me a question like, what would you suggest I do to choose a good one? And I'm sure I was hoping she asked everybody that. But for me, I would say a couple things. The first is ask the coach if they have a coach. That's number one. I would say the second thing is to follow them, to look on their social media, listen to them. If you're on social apps in different rooms, are they showing up the same? How are they interacting with people who might not agree with them? Like, how are they interacting? Is it your vibe? Are you feeling it? And 3, talk to them and even ask for a resource. If you're on the fence or might not, I don't know, ask for a resource, ask for a reference, one of their past clients, and chat with them, ask them a couple questions and make your decision. And I think that you need a connection with the person, whether it's because they're listening or if it's because they're going to challenge you different. It's because their attitude or their method is way different than you. Like, you need somebody who's going to be on top of you. Well, then you might choose a certain coach versus another. It's just important. Why are you going for coaching, and assess those. So those are the 3 I would look for.
I love it. So how are you doing on time? Do you have another 5 or 6 minutes or so?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. Because I want to be respectful of your time, and I booked these 25 minutes so that if it's not that good, I can bounce. But this is I'm having fun with the conversation. So
me too.
Let me ask you this then. I forgot. I lost my question. I had a good question and I asked you that.
It's okay.
It's all
my
good.
My son is here. He just looked in and waved.
Oh, that's awesome. How old's your son?
He's 9.
Okay. That's a fun age. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got an 8 and a 4 at home. Man, I was going to ask you a question about the coaching, but that's okay. Let me ask you this then. I'd asked you for a question. I asked all of my guests for a question, and you had said, what do you want people to say about you when you leave this earth? So, what's your answer to that question?
I asked you to ask me that.
Well, it's in
I love
the
it.
form. So
It's in the
yeah,
intake form.
it's in the
Yes.
form. It is. I didn't look at the form much, but that was one thing I noticed. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. I ask people that question all the time.
Mm.
And what would I want people to say about me when I leave this earth? I would want them to say, Lolita was a powerhouse. She left so many prints in the sand, footprints in the sand, some of which I'm still going to use today. I would want them to say she's loyal. She was an amazing mom. She cared about me in spite of herself. She really had my best interest at heart. I would want them to say that she was giving, charitable giving. I want them to say that she cared about her community and she spoke on behalf of those who didn't feel as though they had a voice.
Now, your voice is powerful. I only know you from this is the first time we've met outside of a voice app, right? You were part.
I saw you only for a second though.
You saw. Were you at the? Yeah, you were at.
But it was only a second. No, didn't you? Did you not come to Kentucky?
I was in. Yeah, I was going to say that we did. I think we saw. Yeah, you're right.
Only for a second though.
Real brief. I don't even think we got a photo. You're right. You're absolutely right.
No, we didn't get a photo. It was only for a split second. I said, David Hill.
Yes. So what? How is that something that you like? How do you get like? How do you get powerful like that with your voice? Like how intentional is that?
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I saw my father as I was growing up. And I told you about the book reports. I think leaders are born and they're fostered, like nourished throughout their years. So whether it's a teacher that decides to grab you, teachers have so much power. Oh my goodness. Teachers have the power and the influence to shape you and mold you. And a good teacher, I remember my 5th grade teacher, Miss Vera Smith. And I remember her telling me, I remember my father coming and spanking me in the middle of the class because I told a lie on her. But I remember her really coming to me and said, you have something. And so I feel like people see the greatness that is in you. And I think that's why I do it today, is because somebody did it to me. I remember my 5th grade teacher, Miss Vera Smith. And I remember when I was getting my MBA, my organizational behavior professor, her name is Stacy Blake Beard. She grabbed me after class one day and she said to me, Lolita, you have this voice. And she says, I don't even think you know what you have. Right. And she could tell that I was shaping. And it was in that class that I believe I found a renewed voice. Like I've always been confident. I've always been able to speak in front of others. That's why I probably speak today on a TEDx stage or on speaking platforms in front of people. But it wasn't really until I started really discovering myself, asking myself journal prompts, right? When I was introduced to journaling, it's in this moment, I feel what and for what reason. So that's the power in your pause. That's taking time to write and reflect and understand. I've always written poetry. It's that piece of expressing yourself differently. And I think that when you can express yourself and then even read it aloud, there's power in that and it increases your confidence. So I always say this equation for success, according to Lolita Walker, is clarity plus confidence equals commitment, right? The more clear you are, it increases your confidence, which then equals the commitment of how you show up every single day. Right? When any of those pieces are missing, it throws the equation off. So it behooves us to always try to look as clearly as we can when we move forward. So I think all of that together is really self-discovery, David. That was a long way to say self-discovery. Sitting with yourself, pausing and feeling the power in it. I truly believe in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with you. 100%. So first off, how do people listening right now, if they want to get in touch with Lolita, What's the best way to do that?
All roads lead to lolitawalker.com. LOLITA Walker.com. My book is there, The Intersection of You and Change. My courses are there. My podcast is there. This episode, when it comes out, will be on my media page. That'll be there. So any and all things, Instagram, socials, Clubhouse, links to that, all on my website.
Awesome. All right. And final question on this show is always what does the path to mastery mean to you?
Oh, look at that. Okay. I like that question. What does the path to mastery look like to me? It means being a forever student. It means that you're on this path, this journey. And if mastery is your goal, then you got to be a student. You got to be willing. You have to be willing to receive. That means you got to sit your booty down somewhere and allow somebody else to pour into you because you don't know it all. If you knew it all, you already be at mastery. So it's not a goal. It's not a path to. It's that you're already there. So the path to means you're not there yet, which means that there's still a lot more to learn.
Well said. Yeah, I agree. 100%. It's a journey. It's the journey. I don't think the journey ends.
I know. It's so good. And I love the journey. And I think for years, I didn't enjoy the journey. I didn't respect the journey of it. I always just wanted the end result. And I would try to go. But now I recognize it's the journey. And quite frankly, I think that there's been defining milestones in my life that I could talk about and that I use as I speak, some of which I've talked here today. But I think really defining moments in your life, if you were to think there's some in your life that are really pivotal to the person that you are today. And the journey is so important. When I turned 40, oh my gosh, my life changed. It did. It was like, how was I looking at life before? It really did. I opened my eyes, and 40 does something. And for me is when I wrote my book, and that book is really discovering who it was that I am. And I got to reflect on these milestones in my life. And some of them I didn't even think about till I started journaling. And really it's writing. So get it out of you because the stuff is in you. So I encourage folks to just write. Yeah.
I do a lot of writing, and man, wait till you turn 50. Man, it's awesome. All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you. It was nice to meet you in Zoom person or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing this. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Thanks, David.